Welcome back to the Grappling Growth podcast with me, Joe Testouri. On today's episode, I had the pleasure of inviting on one of my clients, Ashlee Reid, the co-founder of Rent to Rent Mentoring, a rental property education business which looks to help people throughout the UK and soon to be in the United States expand and grow their property portfolio. Ashlee, in a previous life, used to work as a mortgage broker. He initially started as a self-employed mortgage broker and then created and ran his own company called Mortgages Made Easy. On today's podcast, you will learn a host of things about Ashlee and how he would explore and tackle business, such as what Ashlee defines as growth, his advice for his 20-year-old self, how he would go about starting and scaling a $500,000 property empire, and his top 3 book recommendations, amongst other points that we delved into. Ashlee has been in the space of business for over 20 years, so he has a wealth of knowledge that he can share to new and experienced entrepreneurs alike. I was really excited to have Ashlee on today's podcast because this is actually the first podcast that I've shot by myself. Errol has gone off to do some really exciting things by himself, and we are still very good friends, so we're still in contact all the time. But for now, it will be me, Joe Testouri, inviting guests on to these podcasts and also spitballing by myself, sharing ideas and strategies for entrepreneurs who are looking to achieve heights while I can document my journey, sharing all of the challenges that I'm grappling with day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, because entrepreneurship is not as sexy as they make it out to be. Now, without further ado, let's jump in to episode 21 with Ashlee Reid. As entrepreneurs, we all experience challenges in our business journey. I'm Joe Testouri, and the Grappling Growth podcast is my attempt at documenting my entrepreneurial journey while building my brands. I sit down with fellow entrepreneurs, understanding how they grapple with growth. I hope you find value and enjoy. So Ashlee, just want to kick things off. What does growth look like for you?
Well, Joe, I mean, that is a good question. You can answer that in so many ways. I mean, on one hand, I think of growth as personal growth, education. Knowledge is power, knowledge is important. But then we can look at the monetary side, money. I want to grow my knowledge, grow my understanding of things so I can make more money and be more successful. But for me, I think if I was to be honest, personally, it would be growing myself, maturing, information, knowledge, understanding how the world works, understanding more about business, more about finance, personal growth, I think would be the one for me.
Got you. And is there a time you can cast yourself back to where things felt like they clicked for you in a sense of growth, where you look to yourself and you can compare yourself yesterday to today and say, actually, I can see a drastic change?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you should say that. I remember a time when I was doing mortgages and I was figuring it out. Learning how to communicate with underwriters, learning what the underwriters want to see, understanding what my compliance officer wanted to see, understanding all the different criteria for all the different lenders. And there was a moment when it just went like this. It clicked. Like I just knew what I was doing. It just felt right to me. And I knew what that person wanted to see and what I had to present to that person. I knew how to communicate with this individual and what they needed to see. And it just put me in a really good position. Well, confidence, I want to say. It gave me more confidence in myself and my ability. And I just kind of went from there.
Got you. And you worked in mortgages for a good few years. How many years into your process, your development, did it take you for that to click? When did the penny drop?
Well, when I first got into mortgages, I've always been self-employed. But when I first came into mortgages, I was on my own for the first 5 years. So I didn't really get the support, the mentoring, the information that I needed to become the broker that I could have, I became. It wasn't until I left that industry, left that network, and went to a new network, And with these individuals, it took me about a year and a half. So when I opened up my company, I always say to students, well, not students, so my brokers, I always say to my brokers, it's going to take about a year. Give yourself a year. I'm going to tell you what to do. And after a year, you're going to get it. You're going to understand it. It's going to feel like riding a bike. It's like when you drive the car for the first time. When you first do it, you're nervous. You don't know what you do. You need an instructor. But after you a few lessons and you've done your theory test, you get it. And that's what it was. It was like, I literally, you get it. After a year, it will fall into place. And then you can just kind of grow from there.
So a lot of you and what you do in your business, and we've given a quick summary before this podcast, but you worked in mortgages for a good period of time. Was it about 15 years?
16 years now.
15, 16 years. And over the last year, 2 years, you've pivoted, you've started a rent-to-rent business, which we work on together with. And a lot of what you're doing is you're helping people grow. So where does the fulfillment aspect come from within helping people achieve their dreams? Because I know you've transformed some lives there.
Yeah. You know what? I've done it already. So I've done it for myself and I've done really well with it. So watching other people do it and seeing how they progressed, seeing how they've been able to grow their wealth and watching their dreams become a reality. Because we've helped so many people. I mean, today, for instance, we have a block of 19 studios. We have students in those studios and literally we're overbooked and they can't believe it. They're so happy. They're just getting bookings after bookings after bookings. And for them, it's for me to watch them. And it's like, I told you so. I said, if you stick to it and if you do certain things and you have certain pictures and you do this and you do that, it will come. And when they come to me saying, oh, Ashlee, I can't believe it. I got my booking. I'm so happy. One student yesterday got a booking for a year. This morning, another student said they believe they got a booking for a year. We're so booked up in that block, we have no space. But that's all based on our training, our coaching, our mentoring, the information that we give them to give them the confidence that they need so they can be successful. There's nothing better than that because I'm already done it for myself. I've been doing it for years. So watch other people do it and actually make money and actually have success from it. Yeah, it's no better feeling.
We've looked at the element of growth, which that isn't exactly what this podcast is about, because I think there's so many podcasts out there that talk about people's successes and their triumphs. Where we really want to give back to our community, to entrepreneurs who are looking to take this journey forward, is the challenges, the things that we're grappling with from it's time to time. And then we've got our everyday putting out fires, the things that when we look at the end of the day, we have 5 things that we want to get sorted out. And then we realize that by the end of the day, we've only ticked off 2 of those things on that checklist. We've had to finish all of these things within that day. So what does a typical entrepreneurial day look like for you? Let's say a Tuesday. We're not talking about Glamorous Friday where you're jetting off to Marbella.
Yeah. You know what? Putting out fires. You're always problem solving. There's always a problem that needs solving. And there's always a solution to a problem. It just may not be the solution that you want, but it's a solution. So it's finding the right solution to the problem and resolving it as quickly as possible. But also, I have a team around me that I've trained. So I have benefits and I've trained to a point where it's like a second me. So having, the right team around you is massively important.
Could you give us an example of a recent challenge that you've had to put out?
I had a student who took a property on. Literally, she signed the contracts on Monday at 5 o'clock, and by 5:30, she was like, "I want to pull out. I don't want to do this. I'm nervous." She was done. She was just like, "Nope."
But you said,
yeah,
if you can start at 5 o'clock, she said she was
fine. Yeah,
go on from there.
Yeah. So 5 o'clock from 5 already.
Yep. Go.
Yeah. So 5 o'clock she signed her contracts. 5 o'clock she signed her contracts. It was all good to go. By 5:30 she wanted to pull out. So obviously you signed a contract. You've paid your money. You can't just decide, okay, I've changed my mind. So it's calming her nerves down. And then she's like, she's got her property now. She needs to put the stuff in there, make it her own, which we helped her and got it sorted out for her. But then it's like the worry about, am I going to get a booking? What am I going to do? So on and so forth. It's more managing her expectation, but calming her down. Now, some people are really good and easy, but some people, they get really stressed out, and it's dealing with those people when they're stressed out. Now, the funny story about this person, her first booking was for 2 months. That was her first booking. And then guess what happened with that booking? The person cancelled the booking and there's no refund. so, so in the end, she got a booking for 2 months. There's no refund. But then the person decided to turn up anyway and didn't tell us. But we already prepared her to say, just in case, make sure the room is ready, which the room was ready. And this is the thing, there's always problems. There's always problems with students. But we're always making sure we put them in the best position just in case. So with this student, she was in a good position. We made sure she was prepared. But the problem was dealing with her nerves. And you don't know, when you take on a student, you don't know how they're going to deal with certain problems and how much they need you. This person needs us it's non-stop. 7:30, I've got 10 messages. And at 12 o'clock at night, I've got another 30 messages. But she needed that handheld. Whereas other students, they've been perfectly fine. They've just got on with it. They've taken advice. They're getting the bookings in. You don't really hear from them. So it's just managing people, helping them, supporting them. And the biggest challenge with us is everybody's different. Not everyone's the same. So understanding, in our senior meetings, we talk about, okay, we need to make sure with this one, we have to look after this one. We can tell that they're gonna need her hand held a little bit more. But with other students, we're like, they're fine, they're getting on with it, and it's running like clockwork. So it's just understanding, the individual students and their needs.
You went into several different challenges that from experiencing buyer's remorse within 30 minutes, which anyone who's been running a business for at least 6 months has experienced, to dealing with anxieties, to dealing with unpredictability as a roller coaster. Someone has opted in and then they still decide. So it's about overcoming several challenges. What advice would you give to, let's say, 20-year-old Ashlee, who is just looking to get into running a business, entrepreneurship, to deal with these type of challenges? What would you say to him that could also be said to dozens of entrepreneurs who are in that exact same position right now?
First thing, a couple of things I would say to my younger self: your friends, the people you hang around with, the people you have lunch with, the people you have dinner with. Make sure that those people are where you want to be. They will take you under their wing. They will mentor you. They will give you information. It's priceless. I have friends that have done so much for me just for being my friend. And they give me so much information, just give me so much confidence within myself, which allows me to take not risks, but calculated risks to achieve more and do more. So have the right friends. But the most important thing I would give number one, this is what I say to my younger brother: a mentor. Having a mentor, having someone that you can talk to, bounce ideas off, someone that's pushing you, someone that's got the experience. Because having a friend is one thing, but that friend is running their own business and they're doing their own thing and they're busy. And you don't want to keep going to them, bothering them all the time. They have to run their own lives and they've got their families. But if you have a mentor you can discuss what your plans and your goals are, and you stick to it and you work with that person. If you get that from a young age, as well as the good friendship group, you can go so far in life.
There's a really interesting concept that I looked into before. It's called your reference group. And it's always the classic saying of, you are the average of the 5 people that you associate or you hang out with. And that has actually been coined as your reference group. And there's studies that show how successful people can be based on who they have around them. And I think if we're all being honest, we've all been in places where we haven't been the happiest in ourselves, whether it comes down to our physique or our financial goals or where our career's at. And generally, when you can cast your mind back, you can take just timestamps and say, actually, who was I hanging around with at that period? You might have a period where maybe you're 21 and you were partying like crazy, and you think, who are
How
the
big
guys
that
that I
was.
was partying with? And generally, the friends that you're partying with back then aren't the guys who you would meet up with on a Tuesday morning for a coffee, or you'd go for a meal that didn't involve alcohol. And it's just, I think a really good friend is someone who you can have fun with, but equally you can sit down with and you can say, hey, I'm not feeling my best with this, or what would you do with this?
Yeah. Debates. Me and my friends have debates. We would be talking business, we'd be talking life, we'd be talking. My friends, my new friends have made me a better man, made me more cunning in business, made me understand things from a totally different perspective. And what they said to me at the beginning when I first started associating myself with them is, the person you are today is not going to allow you to be the person that you want to become. So you have to kill yourself and you have to start again, and never be afraid to basically push that reset button. So they made me watch. So their take was, watch these shows. One of the shows that they made me watch was The Secret, and I decided, well, I'm not going to watch The Secret. I'm going to read it. And I read that book, I think, 3 times. And then I started reading other books and more books and more books. And that's what allowed me, I guess, to give me that tunnel vision, that confidence and that understanding. Another thing I'll give to my younger self again, read books. There are books out there that can really help you channel your energy and manifest things, and it works. But no one will believe you, but I can promise you, manifestation works.
What are your top 3 book recommendations?
The Power of Now, Power of the Subconscious Mind. The third one is actually probably one of my favorites, only because I like the history side of it. It's called Sapiens, and Sapiens. There's loads of other books that I've read that are amazing, but those 3 books, I believe, were the 3 books that I enjoy the most.
Interesting. So between those 3 books, and I actually saw Sapiens walking by it the other day, and I just could remember the cover instantly. Why those 3
Yeah.
books? As someone who is an aspiring entrepreneur, what would those books give to people?
Well, in Sapiens, what it tells you is that if you want to understand your future, you need to understand your past, who we are as human beings, where we come from. So, because what happened yesterday is going to happen again. All the things that we're experiencing now has happened before. It's just that we forgot about it. Because over time, you might read about it or hear about it, but you forget because you personally haven't experienced it. So Sapiens gave me a great understanding about us as human beings, sociology, how we communicate. So I'll give a quick example. What it would say is that if you have 10 monkeys in a room, the 10 monkeys will find one alpha monkey, and that one alpha monkey will control all the other monkeys. That's what will happen. However, if you have 100 monkeys in a room, it will be carnage. Not one alpha can control 100 monkeys. So it would be carnage. Every monkey would go crazy, it would be carnage. However, with human beings, what they did with human beings is that you can have 1,000,000 humans that can all work together, live together, and be one. And how they did that? Religion. That's what they did. So they have religion. Or I support Man United, as some people do. I support Arsenal. I support Chelsea. Once again, that's how you get a mass of people coming together and living together and being together and form under one group. So that's what they did with human beings. So then it's interesting because you have to think to yourself, well, how does that work in business then? Well, if you're on your own, you're on your own. You have a group, a collective of people, and it says this in Sapiens as well. You have a collective of people, everybody's working towards the goal. Everyone's working towards that goal of success for your business. Everyone's working towards it. Your manager's working towards it. Your marketing department's working towards it. Everyone, graphics designer, everybody's working towards that one goal. That's the success of that business. So it's about understanding how we work and how things work and how we work together for that greater good. Let's just be honest. Man United wouldn't be the great team if they had no fans. Nobody would care, would they? So they need their fans for that business to work. And they get people together supporting that team, which means now a stranger can now be my friend and we have something in common.
Yeah, and
That's how we built our society.
maybe not so much anymore. I see your point there, and I mean it's coming from a Tottenham fan, so you haven't got many fans, have you?
Nah.
With that, and you touched upon something really interesting to me, and I know a lot of your businesses have been built on human resource, having the right people tugging that ship, and it's not a case of, and the way how I think of it is, you're pulling a ship. If you're pulling it by yourself, eventually you're going to get tired. But even if you have another person there with you, you're able to take turns. But then if you have 10, 20
Yeah.
people, then
Yeah.
you look at a Fordism or Fordistic model whereby, okay, we're going to have a third of our workforce working 8 hours, another third the next 8 hours, and then the last 8 hours is the other third. And then that way the machine is working 24/7. And now we've gone through the
That's
Industrial
right.
Revolution. Machines do exactly
Yeah.
what we're doing at scale that we can never even fathom anymore. And you mentioned so many good
Yeah.
things about what's happened before, and that strikes me very much towards Ray Dalio's book, Changing World Order, I believe it's called, where he talks about we just literally go through cycles, and it seems as though we're
Yeah.
at the end of a cycle. But within business, what would you say are the core ideological alignments that you need to bring your team members towards so you can get to that achieved goal?
I mean, in mortgages, it was different because mortgages, you're regulated, so you can't be creative as much, you can't do certain things. So it was more just, I guess, mortgages was challenging because you're really restricted. Your only goal is giving the best advice, and that is it. You can't do more than give that person the best advice and give them and that person believe in the advice that you've given them is the best advice based on your expertise. And you can only give them good advice if you've been doing it for a long time because you have to have experience in the industry. So with mortgages, it was more about the experience and giving the best advice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas on my other businesses where you can be more creative, I guess what got everyone going was the success. Like everybody really loves the success of the company and how quickly we've grown and the things that we're doing and and problem solving. Our senior meetings is just full of fun because it's like what's happened, how do we resolve it. Okay, by next week this has to be done. Just setting challenges. And people thrive on challenges. So working together, working as a community, as I said, people love working as a team, working together. Even the individual that thinks he's working on his own has people around him that he's working with. Even a sole trader that's working as a broker on his own, he still has a banking system. He still has a compliance that he has to do. He still has things, he doesn't realize it, but there is a team. You're in an engine and you're a part of that engine. So yeah, that's one of the main things I would say.
Got you. So on this podcast, we ask a question that we get from the internet. Now, our main source is Reddit, which is just filled with tons of questions. So this question reads from a fellow entrepreneur. I'm starting a property rental business. My goal is to get to $500,000 in annual revenue. What strategy would you recommend to achieve that goal? And naturally, it's a biased question because you run a property education business. I wanted to find something that you could
Yeah,
really get your teeth into
into
and give people as
yeah.
much value as possible.
Right. So my thing was this. When I was a kid, at Christmas, we played board games. And one of the board games we played was Monopoly. And in my family, I was the youngest. Everybody else was older than me. So in my family, I was the youngest. Everybody else was older than me. And I wanted to win. And my strategy was wherever I landed, I brought. I bought everything. Because I knew at some point, you're going to land on my piece and you're going to have to pay me rent. So I bought everything I could have. Anywhere I landed, I'm buying. And that's what I did. So now, if you take that philosophy, you take that way of thinking into property, it's the same thing. If you buy a property, someone's going to rent it out. That's revenue. The more you buy, the more you're going to earn. So what strategies do you use to buy? What's the best strategy to use? So one student I know, what he did is he done rent to rent. He was able to make £1,500, 2K per property. On some properties he made £4,000. Some property he made even more. But he made that money, and what he done with it, he saved it. And then when he saved it, he got more rent to rents. So he built a portfolio. And then what he did, he then started, which we teach our students, you have to diversify. Don't be a one-trick pony. One of my mentors, who was one of my closest friends, he had a business. And I said to him, your business, and he turns over a tremendous amount of money a year. 10 million a year is what he turns over. And I said to him, if your business goes down, what are you going to do? This is your main source of income. I said, no, you need to diversify. Oh, and nobody wants their mentee to be telling them, good friend and mentor, how to do business because he's been doing it longer than me. But then I said to him, no, you need to diversify because something happens. What are you going to do? This is why you're having sleepless nights. So what did he do? He diversified. Now he's doing development and he's doing really well in development. And he said to me the other day, he said, these were his exact words. So I've convinced him to do certain investments, which he's done. And he said, he's converting his block of flats, he's building it. He says he's going to name it after me. He said, this all came from you, Ashlee. It just came from you. And he said, I'm going to name this after you because this came from you. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing it. And this is the thing. You have to be thinking outside the box. You have to be thinking, and we all come from different positions in life. This isn't a chessboard where we all have the same amount of pieces and we can make certain moves. He has more pieces because he had more money, but we have students that had less pieces but able to make the same moves. It's all about the strategy. Yeah, everything is about the strategy. So my strategy for Simon is going to be different for Ted because it all comes down to how much money you have and where you can start from. So the question is, can you do this with zero in your bank? Can you actually make money in property with zero in your bank? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. You can have nothing in your bank, but with the right mentor, you can actually start building your portfolio and you can make money. And that is a fact. But that doesn't mean you can come to me with no money and I'm going to make you money because it doesn't work that way. But with the right information, you can actually do it.
So say you have got someone there. I came to you tomorrow. I said, Ashlee, can you just give me 20 minutes of your time? I've got no money. What would you say to someone? You've got nothing. This is what you should do.
You need to find out a way to get yourself in touch with landlords. You need to get into a community. So the first thing I'm going to say to you is, well, who are your friends? And what do they have? And what do they do? Do you have any friends that work in estate agencies? Do you have any friends that own an estate agency? Do you have an auntie or an uncle that has friends that's in the industry? You have to ask questions. So first you got to do is talk to the people that you know, your friends, your family, your relatives. You need to ask questions. And they can ask questions of their friends. Because somebody knows somebody that can help you. And then when you find that person, well, that person wants to get paid as well. So you have to figure out a way where you can get paid and they can get paid. Partnerships. When I first started, I had partnerships. I had nothing when I started. I grew up in a council estate. I had nothing. So I had to work with people so I could make money. And I had to keep going to a point where I could do it by myself. So at some point in your life, everybody needs someone. So yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to look at your network. You need to look at your friends, your relatives. They may have friends. Put the word out. But you have to be serious. Yeah, don't be lazy. Oh, I want to get into... I have people say, prime example. I had a student say, I want to get into property. Okay, all right. Come down to the office. Let's get you mentored. Let's get going. Perfect. She came down. I sat down with her for an hour and a half. I gave her a full plan of what we need to do. Come back to me next week. She goes, oh, no, I'm going to come back to you next month. I said, no, don't come back to you next month. Come back to me next week. All you have to do is give me a design of your logo. It's that simple. Design your logo. Tell me your 3 main products you're going to push. Just 3 that we're going to push. And come back to me. She came back to me 5 months later and said, I want a refund. And I said, well, what happened to our strategy? What happened? Oh, I don't want to do that no more. I want to do something else.
I think myself running an education business similar to you can see you've got 2 identical people, but they've just got different alignments. They've got different goals. I remember I had 2 people who both started at the same time. one was able to 3x their business within 3 months. The other one, within 2 months, he was telling me every excuse under the sun as to why this wouldn't work. And it just shows that for me, a lot of success comes down to how much do you want it, and not having money isn't an excuse, because the amount
No.
of the amount of information and resources that you have on YouTube, Instagram, all of your favorite creators are posting valuable free content. Actually, I
Yeah.
sent you Alex Hormozzi's book at the end of last
Yeah.
year, and from a £20 book, which you can now go on Spotify and listen to the whole ebook for free.
Yeah.
For me, there's no excuse. I have a guy, shout out to John, who's based in Nigeria, and he's just signed a client from the US, which, if all goes to plan, will be paying him $2,000 per month. Now, $2,000 for someone in Nigeria is probably the equivalent
Oh,
of $10,000 or pound
yeah.
in the UK. And he said to me, and I take it very candidly, that I've changed his life, but it purely
Yeah.
comes down to hard work and how badly do you want it.
Yeah. No, you know what? I've got so many student stories. The same thing. I've got one student, well, two, well, quite a few, but two jump out where they just impress me every single time. And the reason why they impress me is I say something and I have sessions with them and I go away and then they actually do it. Imagine having a child, yeah, you say, do not eat the chocolate, and they don't eat the chocolate. It's like, imagine that. It's like literally, I have conversations with them and they actually do it. And I come back to me, they say, yeah, Ash, I've done this, I've done that, and I've done really well. And I'm like, wow, like you did it. They're like, yeah, like, thank you. I'm like, yeah, like, great. And this is the thing. If you trust your mentor and you listen to them and you actually do it, you will go far. But if you don't, but you got to put in the work in, I'm not going to do it for you. It's like, I can't do it for you, so I'll do it for everyone. No, you got to do it for yourself because you have to want it.
I'd be really intrigued to see what the psychology is behind why people essentially mentally masturbate. Why do they always floss on ideas? And there's such a huge populace of society who say they want to do stuff, who never actually get round to doing it. And if you want to lose weight, the first thing you have to do is just put one foot in front of the other. Thinking about losing
Yeah,
weight will not help you lose weight. Starting a business, I've got friends who have said they've wanted to start a business for 3-4 years. And at times I've tried to encourage them and say, hey, okay, well, why don't you start with the basics and I'll help you? And exactly what you said. I think I don't even think you need a logo to start a business. Just come up with a concept where you can, to start a business, you just need to generate sales. That is it. If you
yeah,
don't have
yeah,
sales,
yeah.
you don't have a business. So think of how
That's
can you
right.
provide value to people, and then work one-to-one with people, and then start scaling up. And I've got a really good friend of mine who, he's just leaving the military, and him and his little brother, they're starting a really cool business which is personal training for high execs, where they give them fitness plans, meal plans for people who are frequent flyers. And I know for a fact they're going to be successful because they're so hyper vigilant, they're so disciplined on getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And I know other people who have started an Amazon FBA business for the last 2 years, and they're down 10 grand in the hole. But I just know they're not doing the inputs every single day to get their business to that level.
It's effort. What you get out, you get what you put in. You have to put your all into something and believe in it. And this is what we call the power of the subconscious mind. That's that book. That's what that teaches you, because that's telling you that you have to visualize it. Once you visualize it, you make it real. But then the power of now, that book tells you that you have to do it now. That's what it teaches you. This is the power of now. If I want to become a millionaire in 5 years' time, what I do today determines that. So every move, every decision, every good deal, bad deal, every lesson I learn puts me on that track to become a millionaire or multimillionaire.
As they say, action is better than perfect. And I think
Yeah,
we see it all the time in marketing. You're better off testing several things at once, as opposed to thinking about testing it and only having one thing that's there and then saying,
yeah,
what if? Because it's all about just getting stuff done and then iterating and improving as time goes on. Ashlee, I've got a question for you just before we wrap up. What would you
Cool.
say, if you were to use one word and expand on it, what would you say is the number one trait an entrepreneur needs to have in order to be successful?
Discipline.
Why?
You have to have discipline. You have to have a dream. And when you have that dream, you have to be focused on making that dream a reality. I've got a friend, he's an ex-football player, and his drive is unbelievable. His drive, and he's going to be a billionaire. When he becomes a billionaire, I will disclose who he is. But I said to him, like, you're going to become a billionaire. Like, I'm seeing his business and what he's doing and how he's doing it. Discipline, focused. I said, you're going to become a billionaire. And when you become a billionaire, you are giving me money. That's what I said to him. I grew up with him. I said, you're going to be a billionaire. I can see what you're doing here. This is going to be ridiculous. And you will be a billionaire because he's disciplined and he's focused. Yeah? Disciplined and focused. But discipline, you have to put your all into it, your whole heart and soul into it, be obsessed with it. It will work. But you have to make it work. So I would say that, definitely discipline.
Ashlee, where can people find you? Where's the best places to contact you?
Everybody's on my Instagram page. So my Instagram is called Rent to Rent Mentoring. So that's rent number 2 rent mentoring. Ashlee Reid. So you can find me there, and yeah, I'm happy to have any discussion, and yeah, we can chop it up.
Amazing. Guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to Ashlee, going through everything we've gone through, and thank you for your time. Ashlee, thank you.